Thundering Herd. I like it on the jersey, the Herd. There on the jersey, Coach Jay Lipscomb. Second season for North Sand Mountain. And, Coach, if you'd introduce the players or let them introduce themselves and maybe some opening comments today from you.
Yes, sir. I'll let them introduce themselves.
Jack Johnson. Kay Davis. Jackson Burgess.
Duncan Wilkes.
Parker Mashburn.
We got 5 or 8 seniors up here. Like Coach said, we probably could have took all our seniors, but you got to kind of limit it. But some of the best kids I've probably ever been around this group, as far as just good people. We got a great group of kids here. I'll kind of go through and talk about every one of them. Jackson Burgess, or Berger, he plays a little bit of quarterback, a little bit of receiver, and some safety. He started, I guess he's probably about to go on his 4th year as a starter this year. Beside him, we got Cade Davis. He plays linebacker, running back, receiver. Pretty much all these guys kind of play a little bit of everything. But Cade, started a lot of games too. I don't know, did you start as a freshman too? Or so going on his 4th year as a starter, played a big role for us last year. Probably one of our more productive players offensively and defensively. Jack Johnson's going to be a senior this year. Plays receiver, DB, a little bit of quarterback as well. Started every game last year. Whether he was healthy, he had a chip bone in his hip, and I missed about four games with that. But started every other game, and even with missing the 4 games, was one of our more productive guys. We got Parker Mashburn, plays O-line, D-line. He also started some games for us last year. He's had a really good summer and coming along, so a lot of experience there. And then we got Duncan Wilkes, who's also started games for a few years, plays corner and receiver. So like I said, great kids, and also a lot of experience with them. I think we tallied it up yesterday. We were talking about it. We've got 16. I calculated it wrong yesterday. We got 16 upperclassmen, juniors and seniors, and 13 of them have started multiple varsity games over the course of their career. 2 of those 16, it's their first year playing, so they haven't. And then one of them played a little bit as a freshman and then had to have surgery and hasn't played since till this year. So a lot of experience there. Now we understand that you can have all the experience in the world, but it doesn't really mean anything until you get out there and you got to make ththings happen. So we're excited about this group. Like I said, great group of kids, fun to be around, hard working, but we know that we're going to have to go and do what it takes to be successful. So, just looking forward to this year.
Coach, could you talk about the summer, your improvements that you've seen this summer, things you may have to work on going into the fall, headed into the first game this year?
Yes, sir. Obviously we talk about self-evaluation a lot with the kids, and as a coach, I think you got to constantly self-evaluate as well, and evaluate where your team's at. So, we sat there in December and at the end of the season and just evaluated and felt like there were a lot of things we could improve on. I felt like personally there were a lot of things I could do better. So we came out in January and put a big emphasis on we got to get mentally tougher. We got to get more physical. We just got to put more into it. It's got to mean a little more. The energy and effort has to be up every day. And we really started pushing that in January. Now, we didn't have all these guys because they all play basketball, baseball, golf, different sports. But with the guys we had from January and then as pieces added, then we've rolled into the summer. And we've really challenged them this summer, pushed them extremely hard. A lot of times you need somebody to calm you down. I feel like, some of our assistant coaches have done the opposite, where we'll try to push them, and I'll be like, all right, can we do more? You think that's enough? And they're like, no, we can keep pushing them more. And so we've made it extremely hard on them and pushed them, and they've responded well. We've had a really good summer. We've done a lot, different team building things this summer. I feel like we got a pretty close group. The summer's been positive. They've worked extremely hard, but again, it goes back to what I said. We can work extremely hard, We can have a great summer. We can do all those things and check all those boxes, but it really doesn't mean anything until you get out there on a Friday night and play. So, it just nothing's promised, and we got to go make it happen. So as far as improvements, obviously before the season, we just got to shore up some things offensively and defensively. We kind of got a few guys rotating in at quarterback right now, and it could be a little multiple system there. But like I said, just more reps is going to be good because we did football stuff this summer, but our heavy focus has just been on, getting mentally and physically tougher and stronger and doing those things. So.
Well, Coach, last year you hit the ground running, first year. These guys didn't know you. You didn't know them. So now you've got a year under your belt. And you talked about it. It was a big learning curve for you also. Year two, do you feel a lot more comfortable with these guys? They kind of know what to expect, but it makes them a little more player-driven rather than coach-driven. So are you able to do a lot more teaching now than so much on the coaching standpoint?
Absolutely. We've talked, like I said, we talked about a lot of our guys have experience, and with that, it should come with knowing what's expected and what it takes, and what's not going to get it done and what is going to get it done. So obviously, just after a year, you get more comfortable with that. And like I said, constantly self-evaluating. I sat down at the end of last year, first year as a head coach, and looked at myself in the mirror and was like, all right, these are the things I did not do well, and I've got to do a better job of. And I feel like going into this year with the experience we have, and then just me having a year under my belt, I've been able to focus more on football and coaching and teaching because, if you've never done it, it kind of gets overwhelming with all the other stuff you got to do outside of coaching. So I feel like I got a better grasp on that part, and then I've really put the focus back into coaching. So, and then they've made it easy because they work extremely hard, and it's not, it's not a group you got to fuss at all the time, which I do fuss a lot, but they usually work pretty hard and push themselves and are accountable. So it's been easy as far as that, and just like I said, they know me, know what to expect from me, and I know them and know what I expect to get out of them, and it just kind of works together in that aspect.
This is for the players, and you've had a year to get to know him. I want to know individually, what is your thoughts on Coach Lipscomb so far?
Coach Lip came in and it was immediate, just impacting us as people, as players. He comes in and it's not always football. Some of it's about life, teaches us to be the best person we could possibly be on and off the field.
Coach Lip's a great guy on the field and off the field. I've really enjoyed playing with him. It's just every day we come in the weight room, we're on the field. He's looking for that intensity, the energy, keeping the energy up. Off the field too, great guy, and teaches you everything. How to be a good man, good husband, good father. Just stuff you're going to need to know later down the road.
Coach Lip, he's a great coach. He's helped all of us a lot. He just from the start when he got here, he made an immediate impact. He pushes me harder than anybody else I've ever been pushed by, and I really do appreciate him.
Like they said, they kind of touched it all. I feel like Coach is he's always there for us on and off the field, just really wanting us to reach our full potential and just be the best player and person we can be.
Yeah,
First week, Coach Lip came in. I noticed he was going to be like the man for the job. Kind of teaches you how to be a man, and really good guy.
Guys, I want to ask you a question also. You're seniors on the team. You've been in this program for several years. Of course, you've got to have younger guys step up this year for you to go where you want to go. Talk about some of the guys that you've noticed this summer since last fall that have kind of stepped up and they're going to be able to contribute to this year's team.
Two of the younger guys I've noticed that's put in a lot of work is Aiden Haggard. He's a quarterback for us. He's going to be a sophomore. He didn't play hardly any of last year. He's coming this year off a season-ending injury. but he's put in a lot of work in. Man, there's plenty of nights I'll get a text about 7 or 8 o'clock, him asking me to go up and throw. Man, another one I've noticed has put a lot of work in is Levi Burgess. He's a young guy. He's going to be a freshman. He got a lot of reps in last year as an 8th grader, and he's really going to help us a lot this year.
Like he said, Aiden Haggard, this summer, he's probably been the most improved player on the team. We came into the summer looking for a quarterback. I mean, we lost Landon Keller last year, but I think he's kind of surprised all of us he's really just worked hard, and we played some 7-on-7s at Dade County, and he really showed a lot of potential. I mean, it wasn't like it was his first varsity start, kind of. And
We have a lineman named Wyatt Starkey. He'll be going in junior this year. He pushes himself and everybody else in the weight room every day. Comes to the practice field with full intensity every day. He's going to be a great asset this year to our offense and defense.
You know, I can't really put it on one or two guys. I feel like we've really got a whole lot of young guys that want to get in there and work hard too. There's no telling how many nights or evenings I've just been sitting at home and I get a text, who wants to meet up at the field, get some throwing in, work out. And there's also been a bunch of guys, you're just in there. Even goes down to 7th and 8th graders too. You're like, dang, that dude right there, he's working hard. So I can't really put that on one or two people. I feel like everybody's been getting after it really well.
Yeah, I'm with Berger on that. Everybody's just worked extremely hard this summer, and we're ready to hit it running.
Coach, you want to add anything to what they said?
I mean, I think a lot of our young guys have worked hard, and we're constantly, we've talked about, our numbers. We don't exactly have a ton of numbers on the team, but, we got who we got, and, the more people that can make themselves valuable, create value for themselves, it's going to be beneficial to us because the more people we can play on a Friday night, the more it's going to benefit us. And a lot of those guys have done things to make themselves more valuable. And like I said, talk about self-evaluation, have evaluated where they're at, what they need to do. They all touched on Aiden. Aiden's had a great spring. He got in there after JV basketball and was with us the rest of the time. And I think I've stayed on him pretty hard. I stay in his ear pretty tough on him. But he's had a really good summer, worked really hard, improved a lot from last year, matured up. And so he's going to get some snaps at quarterback for us, may end up being the guy, may not. But, if he's not, he's going to play some receiver for us, some DB. And he's kind of, just worked hard and accepted whatever role it's going to be. And then, like I said, a lot of young guys. We're going to have, a lot of juniors that get a lot of reps for us, some sophomores, and a couple 9th graders that play, I think. Another guy none of them touched on, Aiden Parker, probably going to be a two-way starter. Went into last year, was his first year playing, didn't know how much he wanted to play, and then really started showing improvement at the end of the year at linebacker, and he's probably going to end up playing some guard for us and some inside linebackers. Very coachable, works extremely hard in the weight rooms, done a good job there. He touched on Starkey. Starkey's started a lot of games for us, but he's gotten a lot stronger since last year. Just been working to improve, his toughness and physicality. And we'll see more of that as we get into pads Wednesday. So, like I said, I think a lot of our young guys have put in work and tried to create value. There's a chance we've got, 30 kids on roster and may play 22 on a Friday night or 23. So, I think they've done a good job of working and creating value. And then as we get into pads and it gets more real, they just got to continue to do that and learn, because that's another thing. You can have all the skills necessary, the hard work, the strength, physicality. But, if you don't know what to do, if you can't pay attention and get mental reps when you're either watching from the side or having to play scout team, because when you got 30 guys, if you're not in, you're going to have to play scout team. So you got to be able to be coachable from over there. Be coachable from wherever you're at and be able to get mental reps, while you're either watching or playing scout team. And so that way, when you get your opportunity, we're not having to reteach everything. We can correct you, but, you should know what to do when you get your opportunity.
Well, Coach, I want to ask you about one thing. Region-wise, last year, of course, Pisgah was the head of the class, naturally. Everybody else was interchangeable. one or two players here or there, you could have finished second in the region, end up finishing fourth in the region. So I guess your focus this year, and these guys understand that, is the little things, because that's going to be the difference of finishing a higher playoff position. Of course, the goal is to host a playoff game.
Yes, sir. I mean, I think it starts. You know, I don't think you can get ahead of yourself. It just starts by doing the little things, like you said right now. And it starts with the hard work we put in. I think we've talked a little bit this summer about, you know, every day you come and you're working hard, it's like you're buying stock. You know, and the more stock you got in something, the more it's going to mean to you. You know, when you got stock in something and it doesn't succeed, it kind of hurts. So we've kind of talked to them about, you know, how much stock do you have in it? Because, again, if we can get kids to buy in and they've worked really hard, you know, then you get those close games where you got a chance, you know, to win a region game for playoff position. And it might not be, you know, it might not be easy. You might be down late, things like that. Well, you ain't going to give up as easy if you've put a lot into it, because it's going to mean a little more to you. So just things like that, just, you know, it's going to be tough. The region's only probably going to improve. Like I said, you know, obviously Pisgah's, you know, been the most successful team in the region as of recent, but, you know, we don't play them till, I think, week 9. So, you know, we got a lot of games before that we got to focus on. There's a lot of great coaches in the region, a lot of great players. So I think every team's going to improve. And like I said, we just got to continue to get better every week, get tougher, and then hopefully the difference, you know, in us this year and last year is a lot of times last year when we had those close games or those few plays that made a difference in the game, you know, a lot of times we didn't seem to come up with it. And I think, you know, some of it just comes down to toughness. And we've talked about this a lot too. Who are you when things go south? You know, it's easy to be, you know, a good player, be excited, or be a good teammate and play hard when you're up, you know, 20 points and everything's going good. But who are you when you're down 20 points or you're down 14 and you hadn't played well, you dropped a few passes, you've missed a few assignments on defense, you're tired, you know, who are you then? And I think that's, you know, that's going to answer your questions on if you're going to win football games. And then, you know, as they talked about it, that's just life in general. Who are you when things go bad? So.
All right, Coach. Thanks to you and the players, and good luck to North Sand Mountain this year.
Yes,
Appreciate
sir.
you being
Thank
here.
you.